Mickey Mouse.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. Hey, what is up, everybody? It is an impromptu, an unscheduled King's Court today on a Wednesday. Usually this is Grant and Sean Wednesday. They will still be here at 3 o'clock, but we are here. You like the color of the hoodie today? It is a Creighton blue because the Kings have made a move. They have signed or have agreed to terms with veteran small forward Doug McDermott, 3-point specialist Dougie McBucket. Kings fans, it's a little boost in the arm, little shot of morale, something you needed with the Kings after last night. This preseason shooting just a tick above 25% from beyond the 3-point line. Welcome in, everybody. We're going to be with you for about an hour, and I'm here for you. I want to get your reaction. We're brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Get to bennettsrestaurants.com. Find out more information about all of their locations, specials, so much more. Go get some happy hour today. How about that? 2 to 6, sips and tastes. Obviously, make sure that you go watch Grant and Sean, but get some happy hour. Go celebrate the signing. Now, this isn't a earth-shifting signing for the Kings, but considering the circumstances and considering the market, I think it's a good signing. You get him on 1 year. We know that for sure. Details are still coming in. Dougie is career over a 40% three-point shooter, 6'6", not going to give you a lot of defense, is familiar. Now, this is important. He's familiar with a little bit of the DHO game. Played some of it with Sabonis in Indiana, got a little bit of it in San Antonio, also with Greg Popovich and that staff. So there you go. Shams reporting that Doug McDermott headed to the Sacramento Kings. And quite honestly, at this time, it is a really good signing. Do you sneak him into a preseason game tomorrow? I don't know. Too soon for that. We don't know the terms, what the money looks like. That will continue leaking out. That's why I was on my phone as the show came on. But you all seem to be pretty happy about it. We're going to break him down in a few minutes. Certainly, we can talk about what happened last night in Utah. Everybody's focusing on the 0-4. I dropped a Kings Court shoot-around earlier today, which I thought was going to be the Kings Court for the day. And in fact, I put a poll up. Do you want a Kings Court after dark? And the clones took the poll over. So pay no attention to that. It's like 90% no. You should have seen some of the responses from them. But we are here. We are here now. I'm looking at the positives from last night. Now, certainly the defense, a little bit of a worry. We knew that coming into the season. But, again, the offense, you put up 114 last night, shooting the ball from the 3-point line at 26.3%. Think about that for a second. And that speaks to one thing that Mike Brown has been harping on all preseason: pace. The Kings got 105 shots last night to Utah's 71. 105 to Utah's 71. And two of your best 3-point shooters are not playing right now, in Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles. So let's get your reaction. Jason, what's up, my SDSU brother? Wow, more moves. Absolutely. Bane, what's up, man?
Acknowledge me.
And OG, I will acknowledge you. Dennis, Dougie Fresh. I told you, I got to give Dennis some credit. He brought up Dougie's move. And some Kings fans, can we put the brakes on some of these big trade conversations? I've already gotten some messages. It's a precursor to a bigger move, to a Kevin Huerter. Stop. Can we just cover this one first and get through it. Dennis hopping back in. We do not need a starter. Jason saying the only signing I want to see is the positive judgment for Grant. Yeah, we'll see what Grant thinks. I don't think he's going to have a problem with this one. What's up, Jake? He's a great shooter. He is. Look, he averages, I put this out on X a little bit ago, 10.9 points in his career against the Kings. He had a big game, actually, here in Sacramento. It was either last year or a couple of years ago. Most recently, Dougie was playing with the Spurs or with the Pacers. Before that, the Spurs. He had a split season last year between the two teams. His career games go like this. He played 18 for the Pacers last year, 46 for the Spurs last year. Do the quick math. What's that? 64 games. For the Spurs the previous year, 64, 51, 66, 69, 77. So the last since 2018, 2019, the games are there. You feel good about the dependability. Little bit of size does not give you much more size. He's only 6'6", but again, he is an assassin from behind the three-point line. And that second unit, as we saw throughout these first 4 preseason games, did not really have a spot-up guy in that second unit. Malik Monk has not shot the ball well. Hell, Alex Len is your leading three-point shooter with the second unit. Now, he's only shot one of them, but yes, this is, to me, a very solid signing. This is a Monty McNair calculated move. And if you had to ask me, is this in reaction to what we saw in the preseason from Beyond the Arc, I would say no. That's my take on it now. What do you guys think? Let me know. This show's about you. If you would like to call today, feel free. I'm going to put the link back in the chat. You can scan the QR code as well. Joel, welcome in, man. Happy to have you. You dropped 30 on us in 22-23. I knew it was within the last couple of years that he had dropped a few. Jake, they just need to stay in front of their man. It's not that hard. Well, Jake, it's not that easy, my man. It's the NB freaking A, Jake. Jake, these are fast guards. These are quick guards, my man. And it's not a new problem for Sacramento. This has been a problem for 2 years, 3 years in the Mike Brown era. So that's why I've said, Jake, the zone defense is going to be a big piece of what the Kings do this year. They're not showing a lot of that in the preseason, which is not a surprise. Let's see. Everybody seems to be pretty damn happy with the signing. So you guys are saying my audio and video is not synced. Interesting. Oh, okay. Okay, so Jason, here's the thing, man. Jason and Jake or anybody else that fell for that, don't listen to this dude. Bane, that is Bane's brand on this show. He likes to say things are off. My hat's backwards. The video's not playing. All funny and fun and games with Jake. Let's see. I was not too worried about their league worst three-point shooting preseason percentage. It was going to go up. I was more worried about a wing D, but McBucket can knock him down. Now, I guess if you want to be fair about it, and I know they're not the same size, but Dougie and Trey, how do you think those two look together on the floor? Because you could be looking at a Dougie McBuckets, Alex Len, Trey Lyles lineup against some big teams with that second unit. I don't have a huge problem with that. I don't at this point, but I'm happy about it. Let's put up some of Doug's stats for you guys to see. Here is his career numbers. If you want to check those out, not too bad. Like I said, you look at his three-point shooting and even his field goal shooting. That's impressive to me as well. It's not just that he's a specialist from beyond the arc. Last year with the Pacers and the Spurs, he shot 40.6 and 44.2% from the field, respectfully. 45.7% with the Spurs in 22-23, 46.2% with the Spurs in 21-22, 53.2% with the Pacers. And that's the one I wanted to point out. with the Pacers, because the Pacers at that time were running a little bit of a similar offense. They were doing some of the same principles that the Kings were doing. And if you go back to Doug's days in college, because I remember watching him in college, I guess I'm that old playing at Creighton. First off, dude's got range. He's got major range. But the second thing is he is a smart basketball player. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was the son of a coach, I want to say. And that's straight off the top of my head. He understands the game, and to be able to play in this Sacramento Kings offense, because so much is predicated off of reads, off of feelings, off of where the defenders are at. Not a lot is set. Doug is a good fit in that sense. And if we want to reopen the conversation about who was available and the options the Kings were looking at, the sexy name was Jay Crowder. This is a much, much better signing than Jay Crowder, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. Dougie is a better three-point shooter. He's younger than Jay Crowder. I think that also his game, his passing, Dougie has good floor vision. Is it okay to call him Dougie yet? I always want to say Dougie McBuckets. I know Dave put that out too, but that's what I always called the guy. But it's a good fit. I think for what Sacramento does, you got to be happy with it. Dennis hopping in, talking about the spacing. Yes, indeed. James, he's a catch and shoot. So do the Kings have a guard to pass him the ball? My answer to that is yes. As of right now, yes. They do have a guard to pass him the ball. Jordan McLaughlin has really impressed me. This dude who was sitting on the Minnesota bench, not getting minutes, he has played really well in 2 games for the Kings. In fact, he's done the little things that Mike Brown has talked about that don't always show up on the stat sheet. And last night, he was on the floor. Did anybody notice that? Jordan was on the floor with 5 minutes left to go in the game, and Fox was on the bench. Now, obviously, Fox was getting his little rest before the push at the end of the game, but Mike Brown had confidence in this kid coming into camp. Monty, more than anybody, had confidence in him. If you remember, dating back to the signing and up until training camp, anytime that Monty McNair was talking about the offseason, he would also bring up Jordan's acquisition. And there's a reason for it. Through 2 games, he is a glue guy. He is a guy that the Kings did not have. In fact, he is the closest thing. It's a discussion we've been having here on the Kings court about, do the Kings have a true point guard on their roster? He's a true point guard. He can shoot 3 ball. His game, to me, through 2 games, is reminiscent of a little bit of like a Patty Mills. Think about Patty Mills back, and I know Patty was playing just the other night against Skinks, but think about Patty Mills back in the San Antonio heydays. Just a guy that would come off the bench, be solid, get other guys looks, could knock down a shot if he was open. Jordan's line last night, check this out. He was 4 of 9 from the field. He had 9 points. More importantly, check this out. 4 steals, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 defensive rebounds, 1 offensive rebound. He stirs the pot. He gets deflections. Defensively, he's in the right spots. So if he can stay healthy, I really like him as that second unit guy that can get Doug the ball. So we'll see. Still a lot to be decided. We still have another preseason game tomorrow night. The Clippers will be taking on the Kings in LA from the brand new Intuit Dome. Yes. News on that. No James Harden tomorrow night. No James Harden. Not sure if that's being widely reported. Tyronn Lue said that before their last preseason game. What's your expectation for the starters tomorrow night? My guess is at best, literally at best, you might get 1 run out of them, like 6 to 8 minutes. Not even the first quarter. After that, you're kicking it to the bench. Can you sneak Kevin Huerter in? That's the big question. Can Kevin get any time tomorrow? James, Ryan, that Japanese guard, Yuki Kawamura. I don't know who that is. Quite frankly, James, he is not on my radar, my man. Peter hopping in the conversation, missed 14 games last year, so appears to be durable. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You look at as he's gotten older, Doug has been able to stay on the court. Completely agree with you there. Again, if you are just tuning in, Doug McDermott has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Kings. That's that roster spot that was opened up with Jalen McDaniels headed to San Antonio. Then I believe he was waived. Quit keeping tabs on him after that. Why? He is out of Sacramento. Let's see. Derek, I like the Doug signing. He can shoot, and Jay Crowder was more of a 4 than a 3. And Jay Crowder, I don't want to say he wasn't a team guy, but Jerry Reynolds expressed this a couple times when we had conversations about the Kings possibly bringing in Jay. And Jerry's response was, you got to have minutes for him. He caused some problems last year in Milwaukee when he didn't have minutes. So anyways, I like the Doug signing much more than any Jay Crowder signing. And look, the Kings likely, we talked about it last night on the post-game show, very small possibility that the Kings were going to go out and make a huge move, a Brandon Ingram move. I told everybody, and I think we're all in agreement, if you think Zach LaVine is still in play, get the hell out of here. He is not coming to Sacramento. But the Brandon Ingram, very small shot there. I think this kind of seals it up. And I go back to what I said at the start. If you think this Doug McDermott signing is part of a bigger deal, then you probably need to go back to the textbooks and read a little bit more. Go back to the internet, study Monty McNair. Probably not going to be part of a bigger deal unless something miraculous fell into the Kings' laps. But again, good pickup. Good pickup, 6'6", can shoot the ball, great spot shooter. And more than anything, I want to go back to what Dennis says here. Doug is one of those guys that you can't leave. You can't leave him. He is a proven three-point specialist in the NBA. Put him in the same category as a Kyle Korver. Do you want to say as a Grayson Allen? Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. But you put him in that same category, which means you have to respect him while he's on the floor. You can't hang off too much because he does have a very quick release, which is a huge plus. He can get it off very quick, which means, in fact, if you watch this second unit, and I know Malik Monk has not played very well here in the first few preseason games, but if you look at what they're trying to do, they're doing a lot of pick and roll. They're spreading things out, and that is where you can create that space that Dennis is talking about. That's where guys are going to get caught hanging off, helping. You got to make decisions on whether you're going over, under the screen, etc. And if you're guarding Doug, you got to stay close to Doug. Now, how will he fit in to this Kings culture? How will he fit into this rotation? I think immediately as we sit today, I don't know where he's at conditioning wise. Certainly we will learn that as the day unravels, as the next couple days go on. But you got to think he's going to get minutes right off the bat. Now, not major minutes, but depending on Trey Lyles' availability, I think Doug slides right in there with that second unit as we sit now. But again, subject to whether or not Trey is going to be available. And speaking of Trey, getting closer and closer, competed in the three-point shooting contest on Monday. It was just a team no contact contest. He's been doing some walkthroughs with the offense. ESPN had him listed as a game time decision last night, but I would take that with a grain of salt because they also had Orlando, Washington. Do you know why I'm saying Orlando, Washington? Anybody read the Athletic article? Yeah, the Athletic article saying the Kings were going to be 9th in the Western Conference said Orlando, Washington. Orlando, Washington, Orlando Robinson. Come on. But he was listed, Orlando, with his MCL, getting back to the point, as day-to-day as well, or a game-time decision, which wasn't true. So, again, I think it's a great signing. Give me your thoughts. Want to get you in here. We can talk some more about what you saw last night. I definitely have more thoughts on that. Certainly, again, some things that are a little bit troubling if you're a Kings fan. The defense, we can focus on that. But if I look at the things that Mike Brown has been focusing on in training camp, he's been focusing on deflections. That's nothing new. The Kings want deflections. They're on pace to right now be the best team in the NBA at deflections defensively. Now, the trouble with deflections is overplaying, and I think that is what is happening right now at times on defense for the Kings. And quite frankly, I have not been impressed with Keon Ellis in the preseason. His defense has not looked like it did last year. In fact, he looks a little bit less composed than last year. And I don't know if that's because there's guys behind him that could take his minutes now. I don't know if that's just adjusting to playing with DeMar DeRozan, if it's just a little of extra adrenaline because you're now in the starting lineup and you've been getting the 1 reps. But Keon's been overplaying a little bit. So can that settle down? Because that's the flip side. When you overplay, guys go past you. And too many times last night, there were straight line drives. And now you're asking the help defender to step up. And you're asking them to make a decision. If they do step up, what happens? Wide open 3. And that's where communication comes into play. And the Kings have not been communicating at a high level defensively this preseason. Now, getting to the other things Mike Brown's been preaching. Offensive rebounds. We've talked about crash zones. We've talked about the Kings. And the Kings have done really good, by the way, offensive rebounding wise. If you look at last year's stats, they were 12th in the NBA. They were 2nd in the NBA at keeping their opponents off of the offensive rebounds. If you look at this preseason, the offensive rebounding has been good. The Kings had 20 of them last night. So I put that as a check in the positive column, regardless of the Kings record of 0-4. Another check. I actually have a check here. It's the 3-point attempts. It's not the percentage in the conversion. It is the attempts. I think the attempts are exactly where they need to be at about 38. Anywhere between 35 and 40, when you have a team that is building around a guy like DeMar DeRozan and a team that you are pushing their star point guard, De'Aaron Fox, to get more to the hoop, get to the rim, rather than settle for the three-pointer. And if you look at De'Aaron's numbers, shooting the 3, he's much better catching and shooting than off the dribble. And De'Aaron's gotten some of those looks in the preseason. I know he's gotten a lot in practice because I've seen it. So can you get him some more of those looks? But getting back to the 3-point number, I like that number because every game this preseason, the Kings have won the battle in the paint. Even last night, the Kings won the battle in the paint 60-44. Huge positive there. So I want to see that continue. What about some of the other things that we've talked about with Kings? The spacing, okay, we're still going to get used to that. We're going to learn. We've seen at points the offense is being initiated in the correct spots. Here's the numbers from last night. You can check them out. The offense is being initiated at times where you want to, which is free throw line extended, which is the elbow. Other times it's getting pushed out. That's all going to be a work in progress. But can we take a moment and talk about Domantas Sabonis? This guy looks a tick quicker to me. He looks a tick more explosive to me. And when we talk about pace, and I mentioned the Kings got 105 shots last night, 105. Domantas Sabonis has been the guy that has been setting the pace for this Kings team. In fact, he's getting down the floor many times before the guards, and he's sealing his guy off, which makes the guards have to play faster. You've got to get that guy the ball. You've got to take advantage of that opportunity. So I'm really impressed with what Domas has been doing. And let's talk about turnovers. Whether they have been unforced or forced, the Kings have been turning their opponents over at a high rate. Last night, look at Utah. They had 23? Was it 20? No, 20. Let's see. Turnovers. Just had it. They had 25 turnovers last night. And the Kings' assist to turnover ratio on the flip side, now, they were really bad against Portland. Awful against Portland. Last night, it was 32-11. 32 assists, 11 turnovers. So, again, The 3-point shooting should come along, not bothered by it, probably a little something, getting your legs into the mix, but you got to remember, no Kevin Huerter, no Trey Lyles. That makes a big difference. So anyways, let's get back to the comment. Derek hopping in on Keon. Keon is playing a lot of good players. He might get thrown off mentally a bit. He needs to feel like he deserves to be on the court with them. I don't think that Keon doesn't feel that he deserves to be on the court. Look at the confidence his teammates have in him. DeMar DeRozan, after practice, talked about Keon. In fact, who did he compare Keon to? He said Keon was like an Alex Caruso. That's a pretty high compliment. That is a very high compliment coming from DeMar. De'Aaron has lobbied for Keon to be in the starting lineup because Keon does things defensively that open De'Aaron up to do what he does best, which is kind of play that free safety role, help off. He can get steals. You saw De'Aaron's steals go through the roof last season when Keon came on defensively. It gives De'Aaron the opportunity not to be on the lead guard. And quite frankly, Keon is a little bit better at getting through the contact in the screens than De'Aaron is. So that all balances out. I just think Keon needs to find his feet with that starting unit. Offense, I don't have a huge concern there. He made a play or two last night, got to the lane, made a floater. That's all good by me. The offensive game for Keon is an afterthought, in my opinion. And that's how it needs to be in this offense because you already have so much firepower in that starting five. You don't have enough shots to have a Malik Monk in there. Arguably, is there enough shots to have a Kevin Huerter in there? But Keon's defense, hopefully, again, the difference between being in off-season shape, open gym shape, training camp shape, preseason shape, and then regular season shape, they're all different levels. So I put it at that. And we're going to talk defense, really. Keegan Murray has been incredible. Keegan Murray's put on some more weight. He's pushing guys around. He is almost always in the right place. Now, offensively, I liked how he was aggressive last night. I thought his playmaking was pretty damn good. Now, can he still hit that spot up three? Certainly. He broke the rookie record. He's just got to find a little bit of balance in his game, but I like what I'm seeing early on from him, and there is no doubt that he is the defensive leader of this Sacramento Kings team. So, again, 0-4, but a lot of positives. And with the signing of Doug McDermott today, or the agreement to a one-year deal with Doug McDermott, that helps this team out tremendously with that second unit, which negative that we can't find any good in is the bench scoring. The bench scoring has been horrendous in the preseason. Malik Monk struggled again last night, 2 of 12 from the field, 1 of 7 from beyond the arc, only 5 points. So this will help out a lot. And I'm excited to see what this Kings rotation looks like, because now if you look at the options for Mike Brown, so your two ways are going to be two ways. Your two ways, I'm not thinking anybody's going to be getting shifted to a full-time roster spot. But you've got 11 guys at this point. If Mike Brown has a healthy hand to play, you've got an 11-guy rotation. You've got your 5 starters, and everything is dependent on matchups night in, night out. And many times Mike Brown will put his rotation or base his rotation on the different matchups that the Kings will be facing. But your bench looks like this. You got Malik Monk, Alex Len, you got Trey Lyles, Kevin Huerter, Jordan McLaughlin, and Doug McDermott. That is really your rotation. So how do you feel about it, Kings fans? I know we got to see it in action. We haven't seen it at all this preseason, but you're not going to see a ton of time this year where you're going to have 5 on from the bench. You're going to have one of the core guys on the floor probably at most times. You're going to see different combinations. In fact, last night, at the 5-minute mark, you had Malik Monk, McLaughlin, Domas, DeMar, and Keegan Murray on the floor. That was the 5 that was on the floor. So anyways, good to know, Peter. I will look into him. Excellent. Peter, by the way, he is the reigning champ in our If You Don't Like That Pick'em League. How about Peter getting it done? Dennis, well, like Frankie, who reports on the King, states that Kevin is a bench guy. A bench guy. Yeah, I think Kevin is definitely coming off he's certainly coming off the bench to start the season. Now, Keon Ellis struggles. That could change. The wild card with that 2-guard position this season, to me, it's not a big deal if Keon and Kevin are interchangeable, depending on matchups, depending on trends, depending on how the team is playing and meshing. The one thing that is not debatable, if you lose De'Aaron Fox, if you have a key injury at that guard position, and really it's De'Aaron Fox, it's got to be Malik Monk sliding into the starting lineup. That has to change. That to me is not debatable. That is non-negotiable. That's something Mike Brown didn't do last year, but Malik was hurt. So that is more of what I'm keeping my eye on. But remember, Kevin Huerter coming off the bench in Atlanta was excellent. Excellent. And I think it's a good place for Kevin to have a little more freedom, honestly. Yeah, I think he can be a little bit, he can impose his game a little bit more with that second unit. Not only are you playing against some 2s, but I think it gives him a little more freedom. That second unit, because they're more spread out and you're running more pick and roll, I think that helps his game rather than the DHO. The teams have snuffed out the DHO at this point, which is why you've only seen one real cut from it off of DeMar this preseason, which is fine. The Kings aren't going to show their hand. We'll see a lot more as the season goes along, probably on the 24th when the season opens up. But yeah, a lot to like about this Kings team and what we are seeing regardless of the record. Yes, he is hurt. Keegan has been playing hard. Absolutely, he has. I love seeing all these different names in the chat. Emiliano, what's up, man? Why was Doug available? The free agent so late into the offseason. It happens. This is kind of the time of year, to be honest with you, Emiliano. What happens is, so the Kings have been here since September. Now, training camp didn't start until the end of September, early October, but the guys have been playing open gyms and getting together and running since September. Now, the way it works really is training camp, you get to have an extended roster. So that's why you're seeing other guys. If you point to a couple of the games, you saw some names that you didn't recognize on the court, some guys that might be in the G League, might not be in the league at all, right? So you're taking an opportunity to look at those guys. But in the September workouts, Emiliano, that's where you mix in the unsigned free agents. So that's where we started hearing the rumbles of Jay Crowder and other guys coming in and playing with the Kings. If you ink one of those guys to a training camp contract, which my guess is many of those guys probably would not sign a non-guaranteed 1-year contract, maybe if they're really trying to get back into the NBA and that's their only route. So you're going to take a chance first, Emiliano, to see if any of those young guys might be able to pan out because you're getting them at a cheaper price and it's not a guaranteed contract. My guess is Doug's contract will be fully guaranteed for the year. So that's why you wait. And so there is a handful of guys that are still available and teams are taking that wait and see approach to it. Good timing for the Kings, especially again, with the struggles beyond the arc this year. Here's your preseason stats for the Kings thus far, and you can see the three-pointer has been a problem. If we look at it by the player, Boogie Ellis has shot the ball really well, 45.5% from beyond the arc. But if we're looking at the starters, De'Aaron, 31.8%, DeMar, 33.3%. If we look at Keegan Murray, 31.6%, Keon, 28.6%, Malik Monk, 14.3%. So that's why I said last night on the postgame show that this will get better. I expect the Kings to shoot probably in the 36 to 38% range from beyond the arc this season. If they're able to do that, keep it at the attempts level that we've seen, which has kind of been around 35, 40, and also push the pace. Now, last night was an albatross. I want to make that clear. The Kings are not going to be shooting 105 shots per game. Not going to happen. But if the Kings can be anywhere in the high 80s to 90s per game, you're looking at a team. And the free throws, we can talk about that. That's a whole nother thing. You're looking at a team that could potentially be scoring anywhere between 115 and 125 a night, based off of what their numbers are now. If that 3-point percentage comes up, which certainly will. You think Malik Monk's going to keep shooting 14.3% from beyond the arc? I definitely don't think so. Let's see. Peter hopping back in. It's preseason. Makes sense for the Memphis roster. Peter, you guys are answering your own questions. You're the best. Look at this. Rhino, but we want to see them go to the 13th man on every night because that means the starters are blowing them other teams out like we used to do, and we used to get those guys minutes, and it was fun. Yeah, well, Dennis, that's kind of a different can of worms, man. Mike Brown is a different cat when it comes to the end of games. You guys remember the Domas injury? It was right before Christmas. That was the longest damn Christmas in 22-23. Oh my gosh. Domas gets injured. It was the day before Christmas Eve. Radio silence, Christmas Eve. Radio silence, Christmas Day, about what the injury might be. But the fact that we weren't hearing anything meant, okay, it might be significant. What happens? We find out it's the evulsion fracture, and he misses one damn game with the Denver Nuggets and comes back and plays the second. So it was a 2-game stand against Denver. And, but those 2 or 3 days, those were long days. What's up, Justin? It is a huge signing. I don't disagree, man.
Give me a hell yeah.
Sounds like Steve agrees with you too, man. Let's see. Did you see Boogie's top 5 big men this season? DMC, more like CTE. I did not, Adam. I did not, my man. I missed that one. Darren, what's up, man? Welcome in. Darren from Cunha. Darren, tip of the hat. There's Boise State for you. It's from Cunha, Idaho. Let's see. De'Aaron Fox is no bad boy. Isaiah Thomas. Fox's game is too civilized, to borrow from that vintage Charles Barkley commercial, chasing the max. Really? Okay. I don't know the conversation that's going on in the chat, but anybody that thinks De'Aaron doesn't have a little bit of dog to him and a little bit of, this isn't on the radio, a little bit of prick to him, you're wrong. He does. It's just channeling it the correct way. So, is he an Isaiah Thomas? No. Is he a Dennis Rodman? No. He's De'Aaron Fox, and that's exactly who he should be. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, rocking the Boise State, but don't make any mistake, Darren. The Boise State hat's one thing, but the shirt, the Creighton blue, that's for our dude, Doug McDermott. If you are just joining us, he has signed he has agreed to a 1-year contract with the Sacramento Kings. 6'6" journeyman guard, sharp shooter from beyond the arc. Range is pretty much the entire gym. You look at his career stats again. You look at games played. I go back to this. Last year, 64 games for Doug McDermott. The year before, 64 games, 51, the year before that, 66, 69, 77, dating back to 2018, 2019. I really like that. Durability, knock on wood, anything can happen, but his career bears durability. A career 40% plus 3-point shooter. Last year with San Antonio, shot it at 44.2%. In 18 games with the Pacers, shot it at 40.6%. So his highest 3-point shooting, or excuse me, excuse me, I was looking at the wrong percentage. That was his field goal percentage. Shot at 32.1% with the Pacers last year, 43.9% with the Spurs last year as well. And then with the Spurs, 41.3% in 22-23, 21-22, 42.2%. His highest career three-point shooting percentage came with the Mavericks in 2017-2018. That was 49.4%. However, he only played 26 games that season, so you got to take that into account. Again, definitely bolsters the bench, gives you a veteran in that second unit, a guy that is familiar with playing team basketball, somebody that is not selfish, somebody that has great court vision, I would say. Now, there's a reason. Now, here's the flip side. There's a reason Doug McDermott was available. There's a reason for that. Okay. We don't know the reason. I mean, certainly age plays into that. And at this point in some of these guys' careers, it's also fit. It's fit in circumstance. And this fit in Sacramento, considering the different options on the surface, seems really good. Really good. A nice, prudent move by Monty McNair. This move possible because earlier in the week, the Kings traded Jalen McDaniels to the Spurs along with a second-round pick to get that contract off the books. That's the going rate to get that money off the books with the new CBA. So Southern Justin hopping back in. Hopefully the Kings can sign Fox after the season. Yeah, we will see. We will see. Dread, what's up, man? I'm a huge Dougie. I'm going to call him Dougie McBuckets. You called him Doug McDermott guy. Great signing. So the reaction overall from the Kings fans has been really good. I like what I'm seeing. I think, again, this guy has a good basketball IQ. I think that he could even, I would say this, his style of game can mesh even with the starters. If you had somebody go down, now you would definitely have a drop off, but I don't have the pit in my stomach that I would have had with last night's Kings roster if a starter had gone down at that forward position. That pit in my stomach is alleviated. It's satisfied now. Again, I am high on this pick. With this signing, I think it is a very good move by the Kings. We keep continuing to ignore defense. While it's a good pick, we got considerably smaller. I've been talking about that, Fox. Gamer Fox. Hey, Gamer Fox. Question for you, my man. Or Gamer F2P. What do you game? What's your game, Gamer F2P? Is it Fortnite? You sports games? Whatever happened to the classic sports video games? You know, like Tiger Woods, Golf 2000, Temco Bowl, Nintendo Original, NBA Jam. He's on fire. Oh, man. Those games are classic. Defense, but it's no surprise. Here's what you got to look at. We know this team is not going to win games defensively. It's going to be an offensive-based team. But can the Kings still do certain things on defense? And can they cause problems being undersized? Just because you're undersized does not mean that you can't cause problems for other teams. You know, not every big man is Victor Wembanyama. They don't, even him to a degree. He doesn't move crazy smooth. The Kings have wrinkles up their sleeves. Now, I will agree with you 100% that the on-ball defense has been bad. We knew that going in. The straight line drives, the first 5-on-5 full court scrimmage the Kings had, Coach Brown screamed at Keon for a straight line drive, screamed at him. And we're seeing similar, not just from Keon, but we're seeing similar things happen in the game across the board. Now, two things to keep in mind. Last night was the first time that you saw a full dress rehearsal for this version of the Kings, which isn't a full version. You still had Trey Lyles and Kevin Huerter out. That's the first time that you have seen it. Second thing, you had a lot of young guys getting a lot of run, especially in the second halves of many of these games. The Kings in the first preseason game were leading 68-60 or 68-66. And then they went full second mode. Mike Brown said he was going to play everybody on the bench or everybody that was available to play as a nod and an appreciation for their hard work in training camp. Third thing, gamer, remember this: zone defense. Zone defense. When the Kings have done it this preseason, and it's been few and far in between, there's a reason for that. You don't want to show it. You don't want to put it on tape. But when they did it last year, they were very good at it. And the one big problem with the zone defense many times is it opens you up for weak side offensive rebounds. You know what the Kings did last year? They were second in the NBA at keeping their opponents off the offensive glass with running a decent amount of zone defense. So I'm not going to judge the defense fully until we've seen this team for 25 games. I'm not, because I don't know every wrinkle that they're going to throw into this thing. But I can assure you of this: if you go back to the first Golden State game, watch what happened when the Kings dropped a zone a couple times. It confused the hell out of Golden State. And that is the point of the zone. It's to act like you're playing man. A guy like Jordan McLaughlin, you let him pick up 3/4 court. Look, I'm getting into it. I'm like waving back and forth. You let him pick up 3/4 court, act like it's going to be man, then you drop into a zone. And there's not just one type of zone. You've got 2-3 zone. That's your most common. You've got a 1-4 box. You've got a 3-2. You've got a 1-2-1. There's many different zones that you can play. But the point of that is you think it's man defense if you're the offense, and then the Kings dropped a zone. And now as the offensive team, you're like, okay, he's not guarding me. Oh, zone. And everybody's looking around. Coach, what set are we running? 23 high. And then guess what happens? You look up at the shot clock. There's 12 seconds left on it. That is what a zone defense does. And that is what the Kings, undersized, can do, playing the zone. And if they can keep teams off the offensive boards, I'll be okay with that. So I agree. Defense is a problem, but we knew it was going to be a problem. What we didn't know was going to be an issue was the 3-point shooting. And again, I'm not ready to call it an issue because it's the preseason, but certainly the alarm bells have been ringing here in Sacramento because of the low percentage. Again, last night, not very good again. They only shot it at what was the percentage? 26.3% for the preseason. The Kings have only been shooting the 3 ball. Get this, at 25.2%. So a lot going on. Doug McDermott has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Sacramento Kings. Details will continue leaking in throughout the day and in the coming days. I'm sure the Kings press release will be here any minute. I keep checking my phone. I don't see anything yet. But hey, really quick, let me remind you, 3:00, just in about an hour and 10 minutes, Grant and Sean Salisbury will be here talking NFL football. You've got a couple of big trades that went down yesterday. They are going to break them down. They get you ready for this week in the NFL. Niner fan, you got the Chiefs coming to Sacramento. Are you excited about that? The Niners are favored in that game. I'll be interested to see what Sean and Grant have to say. Hope you can tune in. You don't want to miss that show. Sean Salisbury, one of the brightest football minds in America. Make sure that you come back and tune in for that. Gamer answered my question. Call of Duty. There you go. Okay. I see you. My son is just getting into Fortnite. I don't know if I should be concerned. Any Fortnite players out there? Should I be concerned? I mean, I probably shouldn't. Roblox, it can't be any worse than Roblox, right? Anyways, also want to give a huge thanks to Bennett for sponsoring today's impromptu Kings Court. Make sure you go check out their third location. That's Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. I'm telling you, here's what you got to do. Get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Just look at the menu. And here's another thing. Bring your damn appetite. This ain't one of those little places, the bush, where you get one little bite and you're paying $90. No, you leave full with probably leftovers and a little something to eat the next day. And the food is incredible. They've got prime cuts of seafood and steak. One of my favorites, and I know it's Grant's too, the redfish. The redfish is incredible. And it's not actually red. It doesn't look like Grant's hair. It's actually a blackened piece of fish that is cooked perfectly. Put a little lemon on it, some spinach on the side. Awesome. Also, their spin on a Cobb salad, their steak Cobb salad. Love that. They've got great specials too, by the way. Check out their weekend brunch. You can get a bottle of champagne and 2 entrees for under $50. Monday nights, they've got their wine and dine Mondays, where you get 2 entrees and a bottle of wine for under $70. And then happy hour, Monday through Friday, there's sips and tastes 2 to 6 o'clock. And by the way, they got 60 different wines by the glass, and it's not cheap wine. They got the good stuff like Rombauer Shard. Any Rombauer Shard fans out there? It's a good wine. They got that stuff by the glass. And also prime rib on the weekends. Like I said, go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can learn more about all 3 locations. You can make reservations, buy gift cards. And if you got a holiday party coming up or you got an office gathering, think about them for that, because they've got awesome private dining rooms. We're going to be doing a watch party at some point this season. Grant and I have already put that out there. It will be an away game for the Kings. Grant and I will broadcast. We'll do our preseason or our pregame, halftime, and postgame from Bennett's, and we will watch a game all together. So stay tuned for the details of that. Who knows? Maybe we'll get Jerry to come drop by and do halftime live with us if it is not too late for him. So again, go check out bennettsrestaurants.com. Grant and Sean, 3 o'clock coming up here in just about an hour, a little bit over an hour. Again, the big news of the day: Doug McDermott has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Kings, firming up that small forward position and giving the Kings much needed 3-point shooting, not just because of the preseason numbers, but he is a veteran in this league that is dependable. Again, I go back to this. Everybody wants to talk about his shooting percentage. I am looking at games played. Last year, 64 games. The year before that, 64 games. The year before that, 51, 66, 69, 77 in 2018, 2019. So good, solid dependability with him. It's not that you needed him, but it certainly firms up the Kings' depth and gives them an added threat in that second rotation, and somebody that you have to respect. Anytime that Dougie McBuckets is on the floor, guy's got range, great basketball IQ, sees the floor well. Just go look at the highlights of him lighting up Sacramento a couple of years ago here in Sacramento. And by the way, he averaged 10.9 points against the Kings per game in his career. Interesting number. See if he averages more for the Kings in his career. You guys going over or under on that? GNTV TWHP smells like a Kevin Huerter replacement. Fox Huerter trade for Jimmy Butler. Get out of here, man.
Damn.
No chance. Zero chance. Zero chance that that's going to be the trade, my man. And he's not a Huerter replacement. They're much different players. Much different players. Just because they're good 3-point shooters does not make them anywhere near the same players. Only if he has some chicken and dumpling soup. Yeah, Jerry loves his chicken and dumplings. How candid was Jerry yesterday? I'm not going to repeat his keys to looking young and staying young, but go check out yesterday's Kings Court for that. Dennis knows what I'm talking about. He was here. Let's see. Is he a lockdown defender? No, he is not. He does not make your defense considerably better, but he does not make your defense any worse. I would put it that way. His strengths are the offensive end of the court, but with what the Kings are going to do with that second unit defensively, I think he's going to be just fine. And as it goes for, and I talked about the zone defense here in just a little bit, or just a little bit ago, he will be a good fit when the Kings run zone defense. He gives you a little bit of length. And I go back to this right here. The basketball IQ, really, really good. Really good with Doug McDermott. So I'm excited about that. Derek, did you see that Giannis trade rumor comment? Fox for Giannis would be nice. Yeah, we're not doing hypotheticals here. We're talking about Dougie McBuckets. Here's his career numbers if you want to check those out one more time. Giannis is a different cat, man. Something about Giannis. You've seen some of his antics on and off the floor. And you know what? I would actually think about that trade. Like, that's not one where it's like, oh, sign me up. Giannis is slowly becoming like in that Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid category when it comes to the postseason. I mean, seriously, Derek, when was the last time Giannis played a full series in the postseason? It's been like 3 years. So the guy can't stay healthy. Now he's an incredible talent. We know that, but dude cannot smell. See, here we go. Always one of them. And I appreciate your comments. I'll put them up as long as they are not anything bad. You smell a Fox Herter trade for Jimmy Butler on the horizon. Adds toughness. The Kings don't want to pay Fox $300 plus for the next 5 years. Well, time will tell what the Kings are going to pay Fox. We know this. If De'Aaron Fox makes, and this is Grant's point, by the way, it's not my point. This is something Grant said. If De'Aaron Fox makes all NBA, that means this Kings team has probably gone pretty damn far into the playoffs, and they're contenders. So let's cross that bridge when we get there. The Fox news was not really news, although it popped up again this week. I reported on it back in June. It was June 24th that he wanted to see how the roster was going to develop, and he wanted to bet on himself to get a Supermax contract. And the Kings would be forced to give him that money. If De'Aaron Fox made all NBA, and if the Kings had the season that everybody's waiting for, the season, or had a season that was close to the season, Vivek's hand would be forced at that point. I mean, what else would you be building towards if you are not at that point, especially when you've got DeMar, you've got Keegan. And remember this is an important point. Jerry Reynolds always says it. You can go over the salary cap to re-sign your own free agents without a hit, without the luxury tax. So that is very important, but so much down the road. We can talk about that all we want, plenty of time. But again, the impromptu Kings Court to announce that Doug McDermott is joining your Sacramento Kings on a 1-year deal. Details will be trickling out. I've been here talking with all of you, so I have not been looking at my phone. But stay tuned to my X account. Stay tuned to wherever as those continue to come out. You can find me at Ryan_in_Sacktown. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you following us on YouTube. 7.2 thousand of you already signed up. That is where all of the If You Don't Like That video content lives. And once the season starts, you get pregame shows. I do the pregame show around here. Jerry Reynolds, Grant and I at halftime, and then Grant and I wrap up the nights for every Kings game. So you're going to want to be a part of that. And it's a lot of fun. Our audiences are big during the season. It is a fun place to be, a lot of high level, good conversation about your Sacramento Kings. So make sure you subscribe there. And please do me a favor, subscribe to the Kings Court as well on the X and also on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcasts. I put one out this morning thinking that there would be no live show, but here we are because the Kings made a move. So thank you to the 306, 310 now that have tuned in at some point today during this broadcast. Do not forget Grant and Sean coming up here in just 1 hour. Please come back to If You Don't Like That for Grant and Sean Salisbury talking NFL football. Huge thanks to Bennett's West Side Grill for sponsoring today's special edition of the King's Court, covering the signing of Dougie McBuckets, Doug McDermott, Grant, Sean here back in 1 hour. Go Kings! Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Court is dismissed.
Give me a hell yeah.